Hi, everybody. Mitch Tannenbaum here. Thanks for joining me today for this week's Security News Update. We posted a new video in the video blog site, the cybersecurity.us site, talking about the fact that the government is starting to label forms CUI when filled in. So if you're a defense contractor or a government contractor of some sort, and you get one of these forms and it says at the top and the bottom of the page, CUI when filled in, then you have to treat it like that, and you can't just go off and say, I'm just going to ignore that. So just a word to the wise to watch out for that. And the security and privacy alerts, HR vendor Paycom has figured out the economics of replacing human beings with AI. I don't know exactly how much they spent, but let's assume they spent $25 million for this particular thing that they did. They laid off 7% of their workforce. The payback, even with the operational cost of AI, is probably dramatic. And so they might be saving, after the first year, $20 million a year. So if you're not, looking at how you can go off and improve your productivity with AI, then you're going to kind of get left behind. And we can certainly help you with that. So if that's something that is of interest to you, please reach out to us. One of many, I'm sure, unintentional casualties when the government shut down. There's a law that was passed in 2015 with a 10-year sunset on it called the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act. And basically what it does is it allows private companies to share breach data with the government and be protected from being sued by the people whose data that they're sharing or the information that they're sharing with the government. Come September 30th, that law expired. And the report is that most companies are just basically shutting down their sharing operations because it's not worth the risk of a lawsuit to share data with the government, because the company is protected, and that's really all they care about at this point, because they already detected that whatever the attack is and protected themselves against it, but the rest of us are going to lose out. The Republicans attempted to go off and shove this into the continuing resolution, even though it has nothing to do with the CR. But that's what Congress does. They love doing that. They just group all these bills together and get one vote and make the bill big enough and confusing enough that Congress people don't have time to read it, never mind understand it. And what they could have done is written a one-page bill that says this law, which was due to expire on September 30th, 2025, now expires on September 30th, 2035. End of the bill, one page. Could do it by unanimous consent. Nobody would object to it, but Congress doesn't do that because they need to figure out how to get leverage against each other so they can get the things that they would like to pass passed. And this is true of both parties. This is not a Republican or Democratic Party vent. This is a politician's vent. Ohio has just implemented a law called the Harmful Website Age Verification Law. It's basically says that if you go to a website which they consider harmful to minors, and there is, of course, no definition of that, just whatever some judge in Ohio thinks, then you have to sign on with a government ID. And so, I think this is in line with the recent Supreme Court ruling. And so I don't know that there's going to be much of a way to fight back if websites want to do that, if someone in Ohio deems them harmful. But that's the world we're living in. Michigan, speaking of weird laws, Michigan just introduced a bill. There's not a law. It hasn't been passed. It hasn't been signed by the governor. And I don't know whether Governor Whitmer would ever sign this if it made it through the House and the Senate there. But basically, it says it wants to stop Michiganders from accessing content the state doesn't want them to see, which includes adult content, AI content, transgender content, and other content that could, quote, corrupt public morals, unquote. Another one of these trying to legislate morality laws. And, I think, anyway, the bill would ban VPNs with a hefty fine, something like $100,000 and 20 years in jail, or maybe more than that. Maybe that part of the bill was $500,000. And publishing material, if you're the publisher, that they don't like would be a felony, which could throw you in prison for 20 years. Another part of the bill would prohibit linking to or indexing any prohibited content. It also potentially bans all VPNs, the use of VPNs, and it directs the state's attorney general to create a morality police department. So we'll see where that one goes. In the CMMC section, as usual, I'm going to highlight one thing, and that is specifically this one is talking about the SF 328 form, which is the foreign ownership form that defense contractors have to sign. Right now, foreign ownership is only an issue for cleared defense contractors. But with all the spying that's going on, the government is in the process of making that mandatory for all defense contractors. The form is a king-size pain in the tush to complete. The form is also marked CUI when filled out, so you have special handling requirements for it. So look for that coming if you are in the defense business, look for that coming to you, whether you're cleared or not, next year. And assuming they don't change things, it will be marked CUI. CISA is going after an area which I think is in big trouble, which is operational technology. It's all those Internet of Things, whether it's factories, warehouses, ports, whatever. And they're coming up with a series of papers that talk about different things. This is the second in the series. First one was asset management. This one is operational technology architecture documentation. I think they're good if you use operational technology and you really just kind of throw it together, which is what a lot of people do. Then reach out to us. But definitely check out these CISA papers. In the important issues, or maybe this belongs in the legal department, Georgia Tech settled their False Claims Act lawsuit with the feds for $875,000. I'm not exactly sure how that happened because other companies that did way less got fined way more, and they were trying to cover it up. This is separate and apart from the attorney's fees, so maybe that might double or raise 50%. Still, it's pretty damn good deal for Georgia Tech, and they can get this chapter behind them, and maybe they learned a lesson. The chairman of the FCC says he's looking at blocking state AI safety laws. He's doing this under the FCC's responsibility as a communication service. Not exactly sure how that works. I don't see how you connect those two together. But they're trying. So we'll see what they actually do. I mean, but it certainly wouldn't be beyond the FCC to try something like that. I will guarantee you it will be appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court if they do try to do that. So I don't think it's going to change anything in the short term, but this Supreme Court is very unpredictable. You never can tell which side of the fence they're going to go off and decide to be on. In the legal department, the FBI said it found classified documents when they searched John Bolton's house and office. His lawyer claimed that these are the kinds of ordinary records that would be kept by a 40-year career official. Now, call me dumb. Well, don't call me dumb, but call me dumb. 40 years, you're going to have at least once a year some kind of security briefing. Surely, and sometime in those 40 briefings, they must have told him that he can't keep classified documents if he doesn't have a clearance, and he can't keep classified documents at home if he doesn't have an approved storage location, which he had neither one of those. So, not clear what he was thinking there. But the other side of that is, assuming he had these documents and he was afraid that the FBI was going to come after him, why wouldn't he go off and shred those documents into tiny little pieces so that nobody could find them? Now, that's clearly illegal. But so is keeping classified documents you don't have a clearance. So not clear what's going on there. I think Bolton's got a challenge in his defense there, and obviously this administration doesn't like him, and so they're going to go after him. Next item, I'm not sure you're going to call this legal, but it is legal. The QAnon shaman who was pardoned by the president is now suing the president for $40 trillion. Trump only sues people for billions of dollars, but he's going to sue people for trillions of dollars. And he's suing Trump and Musk and T-Mobile and Warner Brothers and the Federal Reserve and the National Security Agency and the World Bank and the State of Israel and a few other people. Like, okay, this does not sound like a person who's playing with a full bag of marbles, but you never can tell. I assume that lawsuit will be dismissed soon. In the score one for the good guys department, the UK has seized $7 billion in cryptocurrency from a Chinese scammer who pleaded guilty. How'd they find it? Well, she wrote down the password to her crypto wallet, and the wallet had 61,000 Bitcoin in it, which at the time that she was arrested, the Bitcoin was worth $7,000. Now it's $100,000. So the government paid one hell of a profit on that deal. Of course, one would think that the government would use that to reimburse people who got scammed. The UK government wants to keep it all for themselves because, after all, why not? In the education department, how did Chinese hackers breach global critical infrastructure? This is pretty interesting stuff. The Chinese hacking group Red November exploited, defense contractors and government agencies and major corporations. And bottom line is they did this by hacking organizations after patches were released, but before companies rolled them out. And we know, companies sometimes take, up to it seems like up to a year to roll out patches. So there's plenty of opportunity to go do that. But even the companies that try to do it right and they, patch like after a month, that's still, it's only taking these guys a couple of days. The campaign hit companies in Brazil, Germany, Japan, Portugal, the UK, and the United States. It was all over the world. And they're just, counting on that window between when a patch comes out and when people actually deploy them. In the breaches department, the Jaguar Land Rover breach just keeps on keeping on. They still haven't restarted production, although I think maybe that might happen this week. But they did get a $2 billion bailout from the UK government because the government was worried about that whole company and supply chain collapsing. And they think that they may need more money on top of it. Archer Health, a big healthcare company, they into home healthcare and palliative care. They apparently left a whole bucket of data, literally I think it was an S3 bucket of data unprotected, and contained something on the order of 150,000 a file, and included all kinds of things: names, social security numbers, addresses, phone numbers, patient IDs, medical care information. I guess if there is a bright spot here, once the researchers told them, hey, you let this stuff expose, they very, very quickly locked it down. So that's good. And then another item in the just because you're a big company doesn't mean you do things right. Red Hat has a consulting arm, and hackers stole about 28,000 internal code repositories, which translates to about 570 gigabytes of data. And they also stole customer engagement reports. And these reports from the consultant side of the house included architecture, configuration, sometimes authentication tokens, which is problematic, and network maps. Authentication tokens would be the things that would allow you to get into systems. So, kind of cue the lawsuits here, I think. For Red Hat's clients to lose sensitive data about the design and security of the networks, that's the problem. But when the hackers stole samples of the code, meaning it's probably for sale, and it probably includes authentication tokens because that would be the most valuable stuff to sell. I'm guessing these are going to be big lawsuits, so we'll see. The car company Renault, this is not a good week for car companies, I guess. The car company Renault says that customer information was stolen one more time from some vendor that they engaged. He had crappy security. The The data included vehicle identification number, license information, owner's name, address, contact information. So that probably is enough information to allow a hacker to masquerade as the owner and do whatever they might do if they were the owner of the car. Um, and also an indication that they're not getting what they wanted. The hackers who have been breaching Salesforce customers right and left, excuse me, are now naming names. Among the many names that they are naming is KFC, formerly Kentucky Fried Chicken, 1.3 gigabytes UPS, 91 gigabytes IKEA, 13 gigabytes The Gap, 1 gigabyte McDonald's, 28 gigabytes, and on and on and on. So these are big name brand players. The good news is that most of these guys are not storing super sensitive data in Salesforce. So yeah, it's good for phishing and stuff, but it's not the nuclear launch code, so that's a good thing. Russia is now using expendable hackers, which I think is interesting. People have said for a long time that the Kremlin thinks of their soldiers as expendable, but I wasn't aware that they're considering the hackers. So in this particular case, some kids got arrested because they were convinced by the Kremlin to go off and take pictures of sensitive sites inside of the Netherlands and give them or sell them whatever to Russia. And folks in the Netherlands weren't terribly happy about it, so they got arrested. Kind of linking to the article above, California has enacted an AI safety bill. This is the first in the nation. It's calling for transparency in safety protocols for AI. As we know, AI does stuff like tells you how to make Molotov cocktails and bombs and other stuff. I'm sure that people are going to say that's illegal. The FCC may try to legislate against that. We shall see. But nonetheless, it is the law in California right now. AI, the weakest link in the security chain. In spite of the billions of dollars being invested in the industry, we see example after example of AI barfing up information that it shouldn't barf up. And, I think that's going to continue as long as there's not any law which makes it painful for companies to let that happen. And lastly, in the news bites department, the flock surveillance camera folks, the CEO says privacy is not his problem. He just, kind of like Werner von Braun, I just make the bombs where they come down, not my problem. Same kind of thing. So if you expected the flock to have some sense of corporate morality, they don't. Senator Ted Cruz blocked the bill to extend the same privacy protections that Congress already has for itself to all Americans. He wouldn't want that to happen. The FCC has agreed to move forward to allow cell phone jamming in South Carolina prisons. That's because of the fact that contraband cell phones are a real problem in the prisons. The DOJ and DHS lost their authority to mitigate drone threats. It's one of the other of many things that expired on September 30th. Does that mean they're not going to try to mitigate them? I don't know. Knowing this administration, laws are only concepts, so they might, but they also might get sued. So we shall see where that goes. But that is no longer, they no longer have the authority to do anything about drones. And lastly, the administration is being sued, not surprisingly, over the $100,000 price tag on H-1B visas. They say that's kind of unconstitutional. So we shall see where all this goes. Interesting, busy week. And, if we can help you, please reach out to us. Otherwise, until next time, stay safe. Thanks for listening.